Hello there, people. This is Christian. Welcome back to my computer and Fusion for 60. I've been away for a while doing other stuff, but now I'm back to doing more strange design. In this case, like you can see the waves going in and out of this. In this case, a pen holder. It can be done for other stuff. Let's have a look. I have already uploaded some to the printables. This is basically the design we're going to make. I will not make this internal divider in this, which I've not designed, and there's a triangular version. Links will be in the description or in some comments down below, or you can find them on my printables, Christian Laholm on printables. Anyway, that's the design I'm going to do. And of course, I like to say that this is not a beginner's design. Something gets comments from people, oh, this is impossible for a beginner to do. All tutorials on YouTube are not for beginners. This is like an intermediate thing, I might call it. You can follow along and try to do the things I do, but I recommend doing some basic tutorials to start off with so you can find a way around the software and stuff. Some more things to say. I will not make this. There's a chamfer and an internal support or divider here, which I will not make. I will make the outer body now. You can need to add this yourself in any way you want to. I did this one for two reasons. If I put a pen down here, it will slide down and basically disappear. And the other thing, it makes the model more rigid. If I don't have this, these two outer sides here can be squished or stretched outwards because it is flexible, even Printable PLA. And yeah, that's it. Let's talk a bit more about this design intent. If you look at the model, you can see on the top here, you can see the slot shapes, and the waves are like confirmed to the slot. So this is cut in a portion of the waves where they are basically at the same position. But at the bottom, I have like the maximum wave, so let's make this interesting geometry towards the table is standing up. Another thing, the waves, you can see that they are not like perfectly placed. They are slightly off. You can see the peak here is not exactly at the side here. If you want to do that, we can do that. We're going to work through the workflow and have a look at the sketches. And this is from a Reddit question, and in that case, there's a picture. And in that picture, there are waves on the round edges here on the ends of the slots. They are like revolved. There's waves, and then they revolve the way around and keep doing a wave and they revolve. Yeah, that's a possible way to do it. If you want to do that, you need to do some more work on this workflow. And of course, this is going to be 3D printed. So my design intent with this is that all the walls here are 0.8 millimeters because I'm running a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. Let's have a look at the sliced model in Prusa Slicer. So here I've moved a bit down into the model, and if I move nozzle animation back, we can see like it's basically doing two runs. If you have the bigger nozzle, it might be possible to print in vase mode, but I haven't have a 0.4 millimeters, and 0.4 is too thin to be stable. So I'm running with 0.8. That's gives enough stability and rigidity for my taste. So it downs the outside first, and then it downs the inside in this case. And of course, like down to the support a bit further down I made. It needs to do two runs on the inside for the two sides, and then it does this. So still reasonably speedy printing because the nozzle doesn't run around chasing infills and stuff. Just does that. Let's move that out of the way. Get some more memory for Fusion to play around with, and I kill my browser, so links in the description. Wants to download the mesh files and doesn't want to make the model. For the rest of us who wants to make the model, let's get going. We're going to start a new design. I was going to keep this here for reference. You want to have a look at it. We are here in a new design. I would not save it, but I normally recommend start by saving your design. Create a component if you want to do that for compartmentalize things. You want to use this in some other things. You want to derive it into something else, but I'm just going to make the design. This can be driven by parameter, but it's not really a parametric model. I will do some calculation as I work through the model. I hope you can follow along and understand how I think. But yeah, let's get going. Some of these things just needs to be created. Create a sketch. We're going to do it from the top, like that. Of course, we're going to start with a slot. Everything is basically a slot. I'm making the slot slightly off from origin point, so I can add constraints later. I'm going to do a midpoint for this construction line to the origin point, so things just lock down. D for dimension. Let's start some dimensions. I want to do tangent because I want to select the outer edges of these two arcs. 110 maybe. This is gonna be the path for a surface sweep. And the width of it, let's make it 38 millimeters, something like that. And we could do a line. This is going to be a profile for the sweep. Make it a bit slightly off from it. Make it vertical. It's going to end up being a perpendicular. That's enough for me. I'm going to do a coincident constraint. In this case, I want to coincident the midpoint of this line to this line here, but not the midpoint. If you do midpoint, it's going to slam it to the center here, and that would make a totally symmetric model. I don't want that. So I'm going to do the coincident constraint, hold down shift, find the midpoint, and then select this line. That means I can take this line and move it in this direction, but the midpoint will stay where it is. D for dimension. This profile here. So this is going to be the distance between the peaks and valleys of a design, of a waves. So I'm going to do that 5 millimeters. This is a part where you can play around slightly. And then I will dimension this line here from the origin point here. Let's just do 10 to start with. This I might play around with to decide how I want the waves distribute around the slots. So let's finish. We're going to move over to the surface tool and we're going to do a sweep. You can of course use the S key and search for commands. The profile is our short line and the path is the full slot around. And we're going to do some twisting, 360. And why are you moving around? Sorry, it should be a 1. Sometimes when I hit my number keyboard, it jumps around the menus. I don't know why, if my computer doing some stupid stuff or something else, but distance should be 1, twist angle 360, multiply by the number of turns. Let's do 7 just to see if that looks nice. Gonna hit OK, gonna look from the top and have a look at these, and you can see the problem here is I basically got one wave straight up on the side here. I don't want that, so I'm going to move that in a short while. But have a look at this is the amount of waves I want. Do I want more or less? So yeah, it's up to you. Open up our sketches, right click, say show dimensions. So I don't like that this waves is basically on the mid of this arc here, so I'm going to edit this to like 7. Maybe move it to 6. That gives the feeling I like. You can see this wave is, of course, there is a mirror symmetry because we are moving around. But you can see there's no wave like directly on the mid of the side, and yeah, this is the way I want to do it. Up to you. Play around the dimension. Gonna hide that sketch. We're gonna create a new sketch. Once again, the same plane, hit P for project, and we can project in one of the edges of this. So we're going to make one of our first sine curves. This here, where are we? We are there, we are over here. If you get confused and have us select everything, open up the body of our browser and hide. Oh, we are missing one part, so we need that one for just checking things. Hide the body, we have a closed loop. Gonna hit OK. I'm going to finish sketch. That's number 1. Now, I'm going to turn on the first sketch again. You can name sketches, of course, because I want to know the length of this slot shape here, also the parameter. So I'm going to inspect, simply select the profile. I'm going to put the loop length, that is 263 millimeters. And we did 7 waves, so there is a bring up our calculator. It was 263 divided by 7. And we get some strange 37.5. This is like one full wavelength. Why I'm calculating this? Because I want the waves in both vertical and horizontal direction to feel almost the same. So I'm lazy. Let's use 38. Let's move this away. Turn off this sketch. We need now to create. Yes, sir. We had our first wave here. Going to make a second one, so we can do that on an offset plane. And as I said, I decided on 38. So 38 is a full wavelength. So I'm going to divide that by 2 because we're making the half wave. Gonna create a sketch on our open up here. I can select the plane out here so I don't select the wrong thing. Sometimes when you select on screen, you can select the wrong planes. Use a browser. This is the plane I want to make a sketch on. P for project. For visibility, hide the body. Where do I want to go? You can see, okay, that's that size. I'm going to select the opposite here. That one, that one. Let's see. And that, close the body to check. We have like two closed loops. Gonna hit OK. Gonna finish sketch. Turn things around slightly, have a look. Yeah, well, that's good. We have now used this body for what it's supposed to do. So just to clean up things, I'm gonna right click and do a remove, because I will not use that body again. I don't want it in the way. Gonna extrude, surface extrude, select the top here. This I'm gonna do up 5 millimeters, extrude. This is supposed to go the other way. I'm doing this because I want to make, I'm gonna make a loft, and I want to make that tangent so it flows nicely together. Hide the sketches, so I know I'm selecting edges. Once again, here in the surface menu, I'm gonna go for the loft. Make sure chain selection is selected. That means it will select the full loop directly. Otherwise, you have to click on the edges. Here and here, like that. And we're going to change these to tangent. And just simply going to hit OK. We have now two toolbars here. So I'm going to hold down Ctrl or Shift to select both of them. Right click and do a remove. Turn on this plane just to see where we are. Because this is like half of it. Made half a wave. So going to do a mirror. You can find out by the modify or simply hit S on the keyboard and start typing in mirror. I also have placed it up here. I could use that. Mirror of body, this bossy, what plane, our construction plane we made earlier. That's where we made the top sketch. Gonna mirror. The operation gonna be join. Hit OK. Gonna hide the plane. And just for visibility, have a look at things. I could do Control 4 to hide the edges. Look, okay. We can, of course, do inspection of curvature and have a look. The curve is not really pretty, but we can see that things are not like totally wanky. I'm pleased with that. I'm going to turn off edges, Control 6 to turn off the visibility of edges. So, I've only done one. I need more of these. So I'm going to do S and find rectangular pattern of bodies. Once again, this body. And the axis is going to be the blue one up here. Spacing, yes, we want the distribution to be spacing. And we use the number we calculated earlier, that's 38 millimeters. It's going to make 3 of them. I really only need 2, I think, this time. And I'm going to make it a bit lower. It's up to you. Play around with the dimension. So all I'm doing now is trying to make things look nice like this. So now I have like 2 waves. This is going to be the feeling of a ribs when I'm done. But the problem is now, you can see this, I have like a wave up here. But if you know your wave curvature, if I slice this halfway up, there's like a slot shape here. So I will make an offset plane from here. And how far is that? That, of course, is going to be distance. And we know each wave is 38 millimeters. Times 1.75. That should place the plane. Let's have a look. Yes, it places the plane in the middle of this wave section here. It's going to hit OK. Going to do a trim. Use our plane to trim. Cut off the top. You can make, trim tool. That one. And I want to cut off up here, like that. Oh, now it's correctly. You can do this as a sketch line, of course, other ways, but if you're changing too much of this, you need to by hand go back and change things. This can't be totally automated in Fusion. Hit OK. And if we have a look now, you can see the top here now is no longer like a wave. We have like a nice slot shape. I will destroy that in a short while with a fillet, but we are close to having like a slot up here in the end design. And at the bottom, we have this nice wavy path towards the table. Good. We're going to do some patches. We're going to close up the top. We're going to make a patch for the bottom. We could use a boundary fill or something else. I'm going to make it like this. Fusion does some thinking. Select all the bodies. I do in the browser. You can select in a window the way you want. We're going to stitch everything together. Hit OK. And we have this part, the shadows becomes a bit strange with these soft curves, but yeah, we have our body. Now I want to soften the edges slice. So do F for fillet, select top face, select bottom face, 3 millimeters maybe. This will make it slightly hard to print the bottom here and up here, and you can see it slightly destroys the slot shape because it's pulling the fillet down a bit on the side, but it's good enough for me. you can tinker by moving this last plane up and down to get this back to a really nice slot shape up here. But I'm going to end it like this. Hit OK. Wait for Fusion to do some thinking. So now we have like our basic body I want to do. I'm going to hide this for now. Turn on our first sketch. Create a new sketch. Going to select my plane. And I will hit P for project and only project in this line. Going to hide the first sketch for now. Turn that into construction geometry. Make one more line. In this case, going to the midpoint to midpoint because I want these ribs to start here. Now turn on my first sketch. I want to dimension this line. It should be slightly larger than this, so hit D for dimension here. And then I can simply, by making the previous sketch visible with dimensions visible, I can click on this dimension and add like 3 millimeters. So it's the same. It's this plus some more because it needs to be overextended slightly. Gonna finish. Gonna hide the sketch for a short while here. I'm gonna extrude, turn on our body. We're gonna use that as a tool for the length, the distance, 2 objects. Simply select top face, hit OK, and our surface is going all the way up. Thank you. Hide the solid body. We're going to use that later. Turn on our first sketch with the slot because we're going to do a pattern on path. S again, pattern on path for bodies. Yes, this body along this path. Now there's a small problem with this. I know if you move this all the way around and try to make a closed here, it basically disappears. So what I like to do, I like to move this around. There's a snap point halfway. You see it wants to stop and snap there. So I'm going to stop there. And I'm going to change the orientation to path direction. Like that. Looks nice. And quantity. I want more than that. I want like 30. I want 37 maybe. So let's decide on 37 and have a look. Create this body. I can do an inspection between this here and this here. So I have 3.6 millimeters between them. So here I can like do some checking on how I want to design to be. The more surface bodies you make, the harder the calculation for Fusion will be, of course. It takes longer time, but yeah, play around. It depends on how much memory and how good your computer are. And I have a computer with too little memory. I'm a bit low on memory. Anyway, we made half of the bodies, but these are in the middle. We're going to look for the top. We're going to use the mirror command. S. We're going to mirror bodies. So I'm going to do selection, but I don't want these 2 bodies here. I don't want these 2 here. Look to the top. So I'm going to do my window something like this and all the way over to here. So I'm selecting all the bodies here, but not these 2. And I'm going to mirror because then I will duplicate those bodies and that's unnecessary. And select here. Hit OK. Now I made a massive amount of bodies and I want to be able I can select my browser, but I'll need to do some massive scrolling. So I want to make a selection set of these bodies. So I'm going to switch my selection priority here. You can do that in the menu down here. I'm moving up here because it makes it easier to turn it on off, because when I click here, you can see you get the check mark and then you can turn it off. You get body, faces and edges. So I'm going to do select bodies, or priority bodies. Select all the bodies. You can see body selected, not the sketches or anything else. Do right click and do create selection sets. And I got the selection sets up here. Which means I can now simply click on this here and hit V on the keyboard to turn on off the visibility. Turn on this. Oh, I want to see my surface bodies again. Do the selection set, push V, and it's back to visible. Selecting all these bodies takes about 70, 80 bodies to select. This takes a really long time. Anyway, we have done that much. We're now going to add some thickness to these bodies. So you do S and do thicken. I'm going to turn on the visibility for my solid body here. So what faces do I want to select? I want to select my bodies here. So I can simply do the selection set here. Click on this. Fusion selects all of those. I have already previously made this model just to try out things so everything works. So we are back to thickness of 0.4. Remember, Fusion is adding that on both sides when you do the symmetric. That's what I'm doing here. So we do symmetry 0.4. We're going to end up with 0.8 millimeter bodies. and not new bodies, we're going to do an intersection. I made this first solid body visible, and we're going to do an intersection. And now Fusion does some thinking. Wait for it to think. Like that. Gonna hit OK. Oh, I love when Fusion does calculations. Hope it doesn't fail. Yeah, it's not responding, so it's thinking. There it is. So I still have select body priority activate. You can see the check mark. So I need to remember I can't click on sketch things and stuff like that. But I really don't know if I need, but I made a lot of body here, so why not make a second selection set of these? Right click to create selection sets, like that. Now I will turn off this body priority. Otherwise, you can see now I can click the sketch. If this is activated, I can't touch. You can see I can click as much as I want for dimension. It will not pick up that. I need to turn it off. Now I can edit the dimension and highlight it. Anyway, so I'm going to take all of this and hit V to turn off a visibility. And I can for fun just do this and hit V to turn them on. That's not the important thing I want to do. I'm going to select all of these. I don't need these surface only bodies anymore. So I'm going to right click and do remove. And have a look at the timeline. Our timeline just exploded and filled up with remove bodies. So I'm going to click on the last one. I'm going to move back the timeline and hold down shift, click the first one. So I'm going to make a group selection, right click and do create group. You can see my timeline is back to reasonable length. Otherwise, it gets too messy. I can expand this again. You can see it gets like way out of hand. So by doing that, we are back to that. You can see the selection sets went back to 0 because whenever we can select now, we can select our second here, turn on V for visibility. So we can look again. Going to close down the body now and go back to our sketches. Going to hide that. We're now going to create a new sketch. Create new sketch. This is for creating the inner solid body. So once again, we're going to do a slot, or we may call it the connecting body that connects together everything. Midpoint between the construction line and here. And we're going to move in. And now we project in some. I will find, you can see some of these moves are not flat. We move over. But here I have like flat corners. I will project in this point here. Do a dimension. Once again, I'm going to end up with 0.8 millimeter thick bodies. And I have a desire to have this edge here in the center of this body when I'm going to do the things later. It cleans up and works better. I want to avoid tangent faces. So this is like a thing I like to do. It doesn't need to be done all the time, but Fusion hates tangent or near tangent faces when you do combines and joins. I'm going to make this 0.4. I'm going to use thin extrude later. So we're going to see what's going on here. I'm going to do P for project once again. Pick a point here. Do D for dimension, right click and say tangent because I want to select the edge of this arc here and here. And it's going to be aligned once again, 0.4. So we have made this. I'm going to finish sketch. First thing I'm going to do now, we have these massive amounts of bodies. I didn't really need the selection set when I think about it now, but it's good to do. Going to extrude. I'm going to extrude this. This is going to be my bottom thickness. I might make this 1 millimeter to make it a bit more stable. And Fusion, of course, always start with a cut. No. I want to do a join. If I do this join now, I will end up with one single body. Makes it a bit easier to work. So we have join in the bottom. I'm going to do extrude. This is just a precaution for myself. It's select the same sketch. I'm going to do this from object now. Select the top face here. This is sometimes not necessary. I like this to avoid errors. Distance to object. Select one of the top flat faces up here. You can see it cuts off and cleans up all of these. So these are going to be in the center in a short while. Cut, yes. We still need to create the wall. So we're going to do one more extrude, but now we're going to do thin extrude. I like to personally select this line here. Once again, the distance is going to be two objects. Select the top up here. any face up here. Fusion, of course, is a bit stupid. Once again, wants to do cuts. And no. I want to do a join. I want this wall to be 0.8. And I want it to be centered on the line. That creates what I want to do. This is a bit you can play around with how when you do this, but here's still 0.8 everything. You can do okay. There are a bit different ways of doing the last steps here. Let's show one way of doing it. But the important thing is, if you, when I do this, go back here. The important thing is, if you look at this, can I hide this somewhere? 0.2. It's more visible if you make, we call it combined. But as you can see, I can basically change by doing this center here and have a cut earlier. So the cuts of our ribs are centered on this thing here, means I can change things without this body poking out or being too short and not being included. So that's my way of thinking. Sorry for me rambling around. So by doing that, we have made this part here. And now, of course, we can add some solid. At least I like to add a chamfer down here, like a 2mm chamfer. So get a bit more stable at the bottom, and you might add some dividers or do some other stuff, whatever you want. But this is the basics of how I create these wavy ribs. And of course, you can make more ribs. The more you make, the more calculation Fusion needs to be. So don't hesitate to make it like a cup of coffee or like a drink with the hammer now. Because I'm a bit thirsty. To have the time to let Fusion do its thing. So with that said, I hope you found something useful in this and that you can use for own designs. And with that, take care, hope to see you around, and goodbye.